Hey, everybody. It's the 16th of March, 2023, and this is Plutus PBL Live Coding. We just launched on Monday the 2023 iteration of Plutus PBL, and we meet every Wednesday and Thursday, first and foremost, to take questions from the community of people working through the course. And then we always have an agenda of something that we wanted to talk about. Sometimes it'll be an open discussion about a high-level concept like it'll be today. And often, especially once we get into some development tasks next week, we will do live demos of some of the things that we are proposing for people to work on. So I really look forward to this time every Wednesday and Thursday. And thanks for joining in. If you're watching this recording later, just know that you can look us up on plutuspbl.io or gimballabs.com, and you can join in these meetings. They will continue over the months to come. Hey, Juan. Hey, Roberto. Hey, Edmund. So the place we always want to start is with questions, like I just said. And then after we move through any questions from everybody here, the next thing we'll do is just open up a conversation about wallet security and how we protect our seed phrases, but also we will start previewing some of the other topics that we're going to get into over the next few weeks. So knowing that's on the way, just wanted to take a moment and open it up. If anybody here has questions, because you've been working through the course so far, or even if you haven't started the course, but you're just curious about anything, now's a great chance to ask. You can use the hand raise icon in Zoom like this, or you can just unmute and chime in. Also, I know that we're just getting started, so if anybody just wants to introduce themselves and say what you're interested in, feel free to use the time to do that as well. So what have you got? Questions, intros, anything else?
I just want to say that the help that you provided me yesterday was great. The insight about the opening different, how do you call it? Profiles, super good. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with what we do here. I mean, no 100%, but just to get organized in the things that we do every single day is super good. So that was a good insight. Thank you for that. I'm in the process of getting organized, not only with this course, but other things, putting that idea in practice. So good. I like that. Thank you so much for that.
You bet, Juan, and thanks. And that's a key point for everybody. One of the reasons we believe in project-based learning at Gimbal Labs is that you never know what students don't know, right? So we want to create chances for people to learn anything. And that's the beauty of projects. Think about if you've ever done any handiwork around your house or boat, if you happen to live on a boat, right? Think about how much we learn just by saying, my door is squeaking. I want to fix that, right? And think about the times that's led you down some rabbit hole, but now you have skills about how to use these or those tools, or even what aisle to go shopping in at the hardware store, right? These are the things that you don't know until you find out that you don't know them. And that's exactly what we're trying to provide here. So please know that during these Q&A sessions, nothing is off limits. And we really want you to be able to ask questions about whatever it is that you've discovered as you start working through the material.
Yeah, another point on that is this is a great process of discovery, because you know me, you know that I don't ask too much questions. Sometimes it's not that I don't have them, but I don't know how to ask them, because this is, I'm rewiring my brain on all this. But also I don't know that I don't know, so I don't know how to ask it. Period. Right. And that happened to all of us, So yeah, I think that sometimes it's a good idea to expose ourselves a little bit and just allow ourselves to discover things. So thank you. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. What everybody's going to start to see next week when module 101 rolls out is that we're not going to provide like always a full step-by-step video description. So for example, if you want to set up a local Cardano development environment where you can write Plutus TX, one of the steps that you could take first is to install Nix. Okay. And as you'll see, if you've never tried that before, this is a notoriously difficult step to get your local environment set up. And so we're not going to try to teach absolutely everything and hold your hand and show you everything that could go wrong. What we're going to do is provide a high level view. Hey, here's step one. Here's a couple tips on how to get started. Now go try it. And the philosophy there is often you're going to be able to figure things out. And when you can't, I hope you'll have questions. You'll come to these sessions or post on the Gimbal Labs Discord with your questions, and we'll be able to help you figure out the next step. How's that sound, Melanie?
Oh, sounds great. Sorry, I didn't realize I was off mute. Good thing I wasn't doing anything else, like groaning or anything. Anyways, any kind of sound that shouldn't have been on a live stream. I was just thinking about it. I have challenges even with wallets, installing wallets, understanding between a browser and an application, a desktop application. So it's really good to learn. And I realize that you never want to give us all the information. Part of this is learning by making mistakes and figuring it out on your own. But that piece of asking for help, that's key, because that's when the community comes in and you've learned something when you can teach somebody else how to walk through it. Then it's solid. This is true learning instead of the stuff that we learn at school where you're fed this, you open the book, you kind of glaze over, you go back and it's like, oh, now what can I do? So, this always and forever, this course has always resonated with me from my experience. Other people want to talk.
Oh, good. Thanks. This is great.
Melanie, how come you are the OG? You are the OG. How come you don't know how to open a wallet? That's something that we all think of.
Isn't that really
the
weird?
reality, right? Yep.
I've been busy doing other things and I have not educated myself enough. I did it with other platforms, other blockchains, and in Cardano, I got lazy. And I have to admit, I don't know a lot of stuff, and your course makes it easy for me to figure it out. I may not get into the coding, but I'll get to know enough of it that's going to be helpful. And because I'm a connector, so I just need to know enough to connect the right people.
That's right.
And you do that very well, yeah.
Two quick notes on what Melanie just said. First of all, this course does have plenty of content for developers, but we have a hypothesis that it can also be a helpful survey for future project managers. And Melanie, like you're saying, connectors. And you might not have to cover everything, right? There's no reason for somebody who just wants to understand a high level of smart contract architecture to install Nix on their computer, right? So we're going to try to make it really clear. Hey, here are the things that we really recommend everybody should do as a survey. And here's the deeper dives for people who really want to specialize in this or that. So you'll start to see that. And then just for everybody, remember that it's 2023 and we are still part of a tiny fraction of humanity who are learning how to use these tools right now, right? 2 or 5 or 10 years from now, all of us are going to have a lot of experience to share. So I hope that we are building up that experience together right now. Roberto, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So I actually kind of wanted to follow. Oh, first of all, Melanie, I was going to send you the link if you want. Lucas, which is a member of Gimbal Apps, did a really good course on just a really high level view of different types of wallets. It's kind of simple. It's sessions, 45 minutes. So if you want to take a look, I can send you the link. I'm just finding it right now. And the other thing I wanted to do is follow up on that question about the difference with running I've never really thought about that, but what's the difference like from like Game Changer and Nami and Eternal? How come Game Changer doesn't have a browser extension, for example? And even Eternal, that's a desktop or browser, has an extension. What's the difference?
That's a great question. We can definitely jump into that because it's adjacent to some wallet security conversation that we can start in a moment. I want to kick it to Eduardo to hear what you've got first, and then Roberto will circle back to that question. Hey, Eduardo.
Hi all. Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Sorry.
Yep, sound great.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Melanie was saying, you know, how much, especially we really appreciate you guys providing these resources for people generally like novices to kind of explore the blockchain to see what you can do. I'm part of a development team. We're completely self-funded, self-taught, everything from HTML, CSS, JavaScript, even like WebGL games, Unity games. We've been developing games trying to integrate our token. And the biggest problem that I ran into is trying to find SDKs and APIs and documentation to do this kind of thing. And actually, because I got worked through halfway through the summer Plutus program, and I was able to integrate that kind of like a backend into our games, connecting. But now I want to dive deeper into the smart contract language, the Plutus language. So anyways, I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to networking with people here and learning from everyone. So thank you.
Brilliant. And this is great, Eduardo. Thanks for being here. And to anybody else who's already working on a project, you're already a member of a team, we really hope that this course can support you as well. And one of the things you'll see in some of the upcoming lessons, right? We share with you at the very start of the course that our goal is to help people become contributors to real projects. Maybe you already are a contributor to a real project. But on that networking note, you might find next week that you just love the TX pipe community when you explore Demeter.run, or you might find that you feel really at home in the Aiken community and you want to jump in there. And you might realize that actually, I want to spend more time with those communities than over here at Gimbal Labs. I want you to know that that's totally okay, right? We will say mission accomplished. If we help you find whatever amount of time it takes, whether it's 10 weeks or 10 years or 3 days, right? We want to help you find the people you're looking for. And so that really is a goal of this course. So let's just promise that you'll share your successes with us. If you find those people, just make sure to say, hey, I'm spending time over here now. All right. Well,
it's like that. Sorry, I just want to interject. Some of us are like hallways. We're not the destination. We want to help you find the way to where you work, where you thrive, doing the things that you absolutely love and changing the world for the better. So yeah, we don't want to keep you. It's very sad when someone comes along actually to Cardano for Climate and they're absolutely amazing project manager like George, and he moved on to Conma. And it's kind of like, oh, you want to keep people, but it's like, no, they belong somewhere else. And so we may, as a result, we may be a little bit disorganized because we don't keep these premium, well, everybody's premium quality people. I shouldn't say that, but you know, there's just, yeah. Sorry, I'm interrupting again.
It's important. Steve, what wisdom do you have for us?
I don't know if it's wise. It's more a story about my stupidity or naivete. I mean, when I got my first personal computer, right, it was a 486, like 33 hertz kind of cheap machine. And I'm slaving away. I've got like 100 floppy disks I'm trying to install in there. And I kept having this problem, right? It was like hanging up on me repeatedly at this certain spot. And I'm, like, I'm in Germany and I'm calling my brother in the States. And we're like, man, I'm trying to figure out this problem, and I'm in these files, batch files and the config sys files and all this shit. And he's like, and why are you doing that? And I was like, well, I got to figure this out. And he was like, and just restart it. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, restart it. I'm like, wait, isn't that cheating? And he was like, cheating what? What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, I thought I was doing this like a football player would do it, right? You work your way through the problem, and it's like, no, man, don't do that. Don't do that. And like we have these attitudes and we try to like project them on the computer sometimes in programming, and it's not necessary all the time.
Couldn't agree more. Hey, Jeff, good morning.
Oh, hey, I was just going to say that's how I feel about Docker. Like, it feels like cheating, but it's really easy sometimes.
That's it, and that's a good preview of next week, right? So one of the options for anybody who's working through Plutus Pioneers right now, there's a really nice option for getting started quickly on Plutus TX development with a Docker image. And we're not going to try to reinvent anything. So for anybody for whom that system works, we're going to say, excellent, run with that, right? But we're also going to provide just the caveat that now you are relying on an image that's created by someone else. And if they ever stop supporting it, you're going to have to learn again. So we always want to make sure that we're mentioning both of those things. And this goes back, Melanie, to what you're saying about over-reliance, right? That can apply to over-relying on people, or it can rely on, it can be over-reliance on tools. And we just want to make sure that even if you are doing something because it's convenient right now, you recognize that maybe there's a little bit more autonomy somewhere in your future that you might want to explore. All right, so keep jumping in with questions, but I want to add a lens to this conversation now. One of the first lessons, and here, just to give people a little bit of context, I'm assuming that you've taken an initial look at the course so far, but just for context, I'll pull this up on the screen right here. In module number 100, which is the only one that's live right now, it went live on Monday. One of the learning targets is different from the other ones. In lesson 1, you connected a wallet and hopefully you saw some things light up green, right? And we're able to do that, right? Because a browser-based wallet can provide some feedback to our web application, and we can change what this page looks like. We can do the same thing by looking to see if that wallet has any balance of lovelace. And if it has some lovelace in it, we can say, okay, you did it. You got some ADA from the pre-production faucet. And finally, if you are successful on this learning target, we're going to know because we're able to look at your wallet and say, oh yeah, there is a PBL contributor token there. And that's great. And there's going to be more learning targets like this throughout the course. But not all of them are going to be instantly verifiable like these ones. And this learning target, like I said, is different from the other ones because it's a great example of this. There's no way for the PBL teachers to reach inside your brain and know for certain that you know how to safely store your keys, to know for certain that you've never posted them, emailed them to yourself or to somebody else, or how many people you've shared them with, for example, right? And this is a good thing. I'm sure that some of you have some creative ideas for how we could, in some deterministic way, verify this. But kind of as a point about how the blockchain works in the first place, even if we could assess this somehow, I don't think we should. Because this is what the blockchain asks of all of us, is for us to take control of our keys, right? To own this opportunity for sovereignty that maybe hasn't existed in this way before. And so we wanted to start by making this distinction here. And I hope that that makes sense to everybody. When you move to the next module, module 101, which is about writing your first smart contract, there won't actually be any instant validation in the browser, okay? Because all of these learning targets involve you starting to create Plutus scripts and keeping track of them. And so we won't actually validate your success in the browser on module 101. But then when we get to module 102, where we're actually building transactions, then we can come back around to validating those. Okay, so you won't see anything lighting up green next week, but when you get to module 102, the week after that, you will see some of this instant browser feedback once again. Any questions about the how or the why or the what of that?
I'm wondering if it's worthwhile to have examples of what happens when you don't, it's that fear tactic of, when you don't secure, you click on this link, all of a sudden, somebody's read your, or just stolen your seed words or something, right. Maybe there's some wisdom and some knowledge for people like myself that don't know how it works on the tech side of things. What kind of traps could I fall into? I've lost some stuff, but it was other reasons. And if you haven't lost it, if you haven't realized how important this is, you could end up learning a really hard lesson by losing things. So that's, this to me is an important subject because people get scammed, unfortunately.
Anybody have some either personal anecdotes of times you learned something the hard way or tips that we could share? Roberto, what do you think?
Yeah, so I could definitely add my testimonial to the page if that helps. I was doing my own wallets, and I was doing a Cardano for non-expert in Spanish, and I had a bunch of different wallets open, and I had a little notebook that I had my seed phrases, which I thought was a really safe way to do things, but it was among things, and I moved, and I just threw a bunch of stuff away. Thankfully, it's just testnet wallets, but if it was something serious, it's just there's a bunch of stuff. So if it wasn't clearly labeled or whatever, I just and so I don't have a lot of seed phrases for a lot of wallets now.
So there's a bunch of permanently locked test data out there, huh?
I'm afraid so, yeah. I have to apologize for that.
Good. Yeah, right. Jeff.
Oh, yeah, totally. So I just wanted to say, you can kind of trade off, you can trade off worrying about security for just spending a lot of time. So like the easiest, I feel like the easiest way to be really sure you're doing it right is just to have a separate, offline laptop and move all your seed phrases to that. And the only downside is that it's horribly annoying, but you should actually just do it because it gives you pretty close to complete peace of mind that you're just your seed phrases have just never been on your online computer at all, so you're good. But it is horribly annoying. You have to figure out how to sign offline transactions and then move them back and forth and stuff. So it sucks, but it does feel nice to know that you can't get hacked.
if anybody's ever heard this phrase air-gapped machine before, right? That's Jeff's describing that right now. So if you've ever seen those terms and wondered what they mean. And for stake pool operations, for example, imagine you're a stake pool operator who has a pledge of tens of thousands of ADA. There's no excuse to do it any other way, right? And the number of transactions that you're going to have is fairly limited. So you're not making transactions very often, and you just have to follow this approach. For anybody who's not aware, I had this queued up in the browser. Charles made this video, it looks like about 2 years ago. And it's an hour and a half deep dive, really going far into, starting from the concept that Jeff just described. But if anybody wants a really nice deep dive, this is really interesting. And he goes, I think he even says it in the video, like, this is overkill, but it's actually important, so you can review this on your own if you'd ever like to. Mix, what you got?
Hey James, everyone. I just wanted to share something that I did, but maybe you guys can do it, and maybe it solves so many things. I thought about this how to store my keys safely, and because if I want to make it very secure and safe, I have to add different layer of security. And again, I should create a security layer to protect another layer of security. And so this become an onion, and it's become really cumbersome, and even that will become unsecure. So because, for example, if you want to restore your keys, you have to go through a process that will be so obvious that people can follow you and they can understand the process and how you are restoring your keys. So I'm sharing this. Maybe you guys can do it too. When you have your seed phrases, choose a book, whatever book, but you keep it in your mind what book it is, and find those words inside that book and write the exact location of that word as a series of phone number, like where that page is, the line, sentence, the word, and then it becomes just a number. And you will hold a series of phone number, even your contact list, but you know where those words are in what book. So you don't need even to write it. And one of the good things is it is so obvious, it's like in plain sight. So people will not look for it like, oh, there is this plate of iron or metal that someone wrote something over it with really bad handwriting. So this must be important, or, keeping it safe. So something I actually found that one of the best secure ways to put it on plain sight, but something that would be, of course, something like decoding and like this. And you can tell your loved ones that, hey, if something to happen to me, like in your will or something, read this book or pick this book, which is not necessary. He can or she can find that book even online, and telling that follow these numbers, follow these phone numbers, and it's sequence, and voila, you have the restore key and whatever. And you be sure you can find all the words inside one book. If maybe even encyclopedia or something.
I love it. That sounds like an investment of time to find the book that has all of my seed words, but
yeah, but I can just do some social engineering to find your favorite book, James. Like, oh, emergent strategy or something. Maybe he likes that. So
all of the words, they're all in there.
But this is one of the things that I said. Like before, people were using the seed phrases inside the poems and the poem verses, but it got hacked on something. But really, one of the things that I was teaching to people in organization about how a password is secure. Let me tell you, this is already proven that if you have a long password, let's say more than 32 character. And it is just consists of letters and maybe numbers as well, but just even letters for the sake of comparison. But it is a sentence. It is a sentence or series of words that you know it. No one knows it, and just you can write it very quickly. It would be much more secure than if you want to build a secure password 12 character with combination of word, number, a special character, and so on. It is proven that 32 character, it is more safe because you can remember it. You don't need to do a lot of, again, adding security to how can I protect this password, which I really forget it that second I just finished writing it. So this idea of use the network in your mind, how you can connect it, and use whatever you use in your life. For example, if you're a civil engineer, you can use blueprint, and those words will be inside that blueprint. It's a plain sight, no one knows, and you can just write that coordinate where those words are. Or if you are in medical, you can choose something there. You can find something in your life that you can encode these words in plain sight, and just as I said, it would be very easy to add contact with some name, or I don't know, writing. Also, you can be creative, of course, for how to store those coordination. But one thing that I can really suggest that find your way, find what you feel it is better, how you feel you can trust yourself to protect this, and store those keys or password or whatever based on that. Thank
you. You know, I think it's really awesome just the way you're describing the possible creativity we could all take here. But one of my favorite things is, even if I'm writing down a mnemonic phrase anywhere, and I like this concept, what you said about it just being in plain sight, right? Like all the places that you might think of hiding something, if somebody's really looking for it, they're probably going to think of some of those same places, right? So obviously putting things in a safe, sure. But even every time I write down mnemonics, I always just swap two words anyway, right? The same, call it the second and the 10th word every time, right? And so I know that even if somebody found those mnemonics, they wouldn't work in the order that the person is finding them, and it would just be guesswork to them. And another thing people do is they just change one word every time, right? And then you just have to remember that. So there's just these little things you can do that are so much more secure than writing down the words exactly as you receive them. And of course, right, I don't worry about it from testnet as much, right? But if it's mainnet, then obviously you're going to pay more attention to that.
For if someone has a very strong memory with pictures, they can assign those words with pictures, so they can remember that sequence of pictures as their seed phrase. So they don't need to write the word even. They can pick a picture and something specific there, and that's it. Just keep the pictures, and no one knows this series of pictures is actually your seed phrases. So right, yeah, exactly. That, but again, change the way for you is the best one, because you need to protect. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, y'all are brilliant. If this Cardano thing doesn't work out, I'm thinking we should go into business into, special operations or some shit like that. Y'all are crafty as hell. I think we could have a lot of fun and make some money.
Yeah, I serve in military as a special operation soldier, actually. So yeah, I mean, I can have some. We can have some mission together, like Black Ops mission.
I'm in. Just need some new boots. That's all.
Yeah.
We'll need good boots. Hey, Janti.
Yes, thanks again, Ali, for for the good insights. It's quite strange that to this day the key and storing them is an issue. Like I find myself limited into how many wallets I can have. Like up to these days, I'm kind of delaying my opening a web browser mainnet because I'm so used to Daedalus. So I'm always like, should I open it today and send funds? I'm tired of getting other mnemonic phrases and giving them to my daughter to copy them because it's like we have like 3 copies and everybody in the house has at least like 2 of them. It's a long process. I wish there could be one day when some kind of AI could save biometrics information. The same way a human being can recognize a person. Can you recognize me? Yes, you can recognize you through many dimensions. Your face, your fingerprints, your height. I don't know, like usually a human being to recognize somebody doesn't take long, right? Even a child can start recognizing somebody. So I think one time a little computer can be able to handle those things, those features.
A computer in brain, like a
In the
chip in
computer,
brain.
on the blockchain, basically it looks at you and knows what wallet you own.
Yeah, but you somewhere that keys must be stored. So maybe a
Yes, by
computer
the
in your
computer.
brain can communicate with computer on blockchain. You know, all this stuff. Yeah. But yeah, in future, really, we don't. I hope in future we won't have a blockchain with just really with pop key hash and something, and people have to worry about that. Something really automated, and yeah, AI driven, but we'll see.
Jeff says when it happens, it's going to happen fast. You know.
Yeah, some people were saying we are just a couple of months with AGI. So yeah, some people were saying that several years ago it will happen by 2100, and then they changed it to 15 years, like middle of 2035 or something. But now those most conservative about the AI say, no, we are just a couple of months for AGI. So yeah, we are near to that singularity.
There was an interesting presentation at Town Hall yesterday about a team that's working on kind of a neural fingerprint. They basically have you answer a series of questions and they encode kind of a snapshot of you based on how you answer those questions. I don't fully understand it yet. I watched their town hall presentation, but would need to go a little deeper. But it's interesting. People are working on those other pathways. Melanie.
It's an ugly topic. It's something that definitely needs to be talked about. What happens if you die? That transfer of information has to go from one person to the other. And it's certainly something that I think about. I actually had an experience where a friend in a group did pass away, and we're not sure that his wife knew how to access his funds. I'm hoping somebody closer, figured that all out. But this, is a fact of life. So sorry, I hate to bring up that subject.
It's true. No, we all need to make that plan. And
yes,
to raise this point, it's one thing to like write it down or to talk your friend's family partner through that one time. But here's another case where hands-on practice is going to be way more valuable, right? Yeah. I've talked through this with some loved ones, but I haven't like stood over everybody's shoulder and made sure they really know how to do it.
And also, I remember my wife, maybe like 2 years ago when we joined the blockchain, she could not believe that those papers were the ones keeping the wallet. Like it took me a while to explain it. And then I kind of gave up. I said, you know what? Let me tell my daughter, Casey, she's going to like it. And then she's going to know and she's going to let you know what these things are. So now slowly my wife is catching up and getting interested about it. But she just couldn't believe it. Like, how can you just tell me there is like a lot of money on this paper? Like, what is this? Anyway, that's how it is.
These are real issues. I'm managing, I don't know how many wallets for my family and friends, and a couple of them, like I've gone through it and still, like if they want anything done, I do it. And, I've got multiple safes holding seed phrases just in case something happens to me or to our house. But, you know, like I mean, like you know, my brother, you know, he knows nothing about crypto, but he's, you know, he's a systems guy. And he's like, well, I don't know how to do this. And we're like, all right, you know, like, I believe you can figure it out if you want to, and then it's only your money. And he was like, yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of ways to screw up. And I was like, yeah, okay. So like, everybody has James's phone number. And they have to like prove that they're my mom or my brother, or they have to prove to James who they are, and then he'll help. But
That's
you know,
news to me. I'm finding this out real time right now.
I don't like lay this on you, and I hope if I die and you die, I hope Meg knows how to explain this shit. That's
But did you guys record a video or voice or something at least? Or you just write it down like as a wheel or something?
I try not to get on videos. It's really hard.
Oh, okay. I wrote my will. It's okay. It's actually, I'm using a service that if I do not there is a timer, and if I do not reset it, it will send to my loved ones on their phone or whatever. So there is that, but there is no any video or voice there. I mean, their space doesn't support that. But I thought about that. What if I can make a video as well? So to add that, to show them what's going on, what are the things, and you know.
How do you trust the service? You know, like I've wondered, you know, like I've written some of these seed phrases down so many times. I feel like, you know, a hypnotist could get them out of me. You know, like if I lost all of my written material, you know, like a hypnotist could get it out of me. But
yeah, if I point you a gun, you will give me as well. So there are ways.
Well, see, that's what I thought. You know, it's like if I paid a hypnotist to do that for me, should I kill him afterwards? You know, like because then he'd have my seed phrase. You know,
I'm sure if the hypnotist thought about that, so he will do some seed inside your brain. So he cannot. If you want to try to kill him, he will tell that word or that special sentence, and you will do self-destruct instead of killing him. It's a movie.
Always takes anybody who's joining us for the first time now. Just want you to know.
These are jokes. Although I do want to talk to Ali about tactics at some point.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. But I think the video can be really good to handle, like exactly like instruction video, telling everything about it, and that's all. Telling everything, what's going on, where are the things are, how they can handle the stuff. That's it.
And that's actually we can come. Roberto, I want to fully circle this with as because what are you thinking? Oh, not sure if you're talking right now. You might be muted. We'll give Jeff a chance to get back. Let's get to.
Oh,
there he is. Hey, man.
Sorry, I was having internet issues. I was just gonna say, I love that everybody seems to have like their own version of like a homemade solution for this, and I just wanted to paste the one I made in the chat. Like I've actually gone fairly deep down this like particular rabbit hole, like trying to work through it with my family and stuff. And I recently dusted it off like coincidentally at a good time, just like this week, and started making it like installable. But it's basically like a secret sharing thing, and it's from way back in like 2017, 2018. So some of it is like not very well documented because I was kind of, stupid 5 years ago. But like, or like, it's not that it's not documented, it's that it's documented in like excruciating detail that nobody will read. But it's basically just secret sharing and GPG. So you like you have like a GPG key for encrypting stuff, and then you secret share the password for that. So you can give secret shares to like your family, and then so you can make new backups, but then they have to like come together to decrypt them, and like then you just have to make sort of a video or like write everything out in horrible detail like this, so they can piece it back together if you're not there. I just wanted to put out my attempt.
This is really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it also don't you know, do your due diligence. Don't use it as it is. Like there's probably like 5 people that have ever looked at this, and it's mostly a personal project. But I'd be very excited and like to make it useful for other people. But I think I may be the only one that's ever been actually using it.
We're thinking about ways to throw, you know, just extension or further exploration stuff into the course. And this could be, would you mind just if we threw this link in for people who want to take a deep dive down some different approach?
Yeah, that would be awesome. It's it's basically like a I guess it's like a 550 line now-ish Python script with like Nix, and then it's sort of targeted at being installed on Tails, because I felt like it'd be easier for my family to use if I didn't make them actually install anything. They have like a Tails USB. But yeah, totally.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing this. And this is, there's a lot of resonance here. This is one of our core philosophies at Gimbal Labs. No, don't trust me. You know, like, yeah, trust me.
Oh, totally. Yeah, cool.
Trust, but by, you know, from a technical perspective, please try to trust me as little as possible. That's cool. Augustine, hey.
Hi, how are you? One comment and one question. Regarding to what said Mix said on using a phrase as a password. An interesting tip that I heard once is that you can use like a positive phrase. So when you type the phrase in your password, you also doing a mantra. So that helps you like to remember you positive things. That I thought that is very interesting. And my question is regarding to air gap signing. I hypothesize that you don't need the Cardano node installed, but I don't know if you need some Cardano module or just the cryptographic primitive to sign in the transaction. How does that work?
Very good. Okay, that allows us to really come full circle here. And so let's go as far as we can with that question right now. And I also want to connect this, like I said, to something that Roberto asked earlier. There's some history that's helpful to know. So forgive me for anybody who knows all of this already. But one of the things we're going to be talking about as we start moving through this course are what are called Cardano improvement proposals, okay? And so here's the list of them. Some of them are quite well known. So for example, CIP25 is what is the standard people agreed on that made it possible to mint this entire NFT ecosystem on Cardano, okay? There's lots of conversation right now about CIP 1694, a way that we might start the Voltaire era on Cardano. We'll talk about those and others as we move through this course. One of the ones that applies to browser-based wallets is this one right here, CIP 30, which outlines what a dApp wallet needs to be able to do, right? What are the common methods that it needs to have? And so as you look more at, what is the distinction between, say, Game Changer versus Daedalus versus all of these wallets that I can install as a browser connection, as a browser extension, use that to connect to applications. This is where a lot of a lot of that standardization comes from, okay? We're going to be talking more about these, but a key word here is standards. These things that are not part of the native blockchain itself, but that people agreed to after the blockchain was running, okay? And this follows, I can show you what is there a link to the Git repo here? I know that 1694 links to Git. Let me just show you this. So there is a Git repository hosted by Cardano Foundation with all of the SIPs, the Cardano improvement proposals. And if you scroll down, it looks like this. But just so people know, Cardano was not the first to have these kind of improvement proposals. This started with Bitcoin. So look, here's the BIPs repo with BIP and a bunch of different numbers here. And just to continue with this mini history lesson, mnemonic words were not part of the initial design of Bitcoin, okay? And as you can see, this is BIP number 39. So presumably there was some time that Bitcoin existed and people were using it before we even had these words. And it's actually a really interesting historical read to know where these ideas came from and what the motivation was, right? You can read it right here. I like this fact right here. The words are chosen in a way that it should be easy for somebody to speak the words over the telephone. This means that as people created the word lists that we still use to this day, okay, the same word list that was defined in BIP 39 is still the word list that we use to generate mnemonics for Cardano wallets, for example. And every word in those lists in each language is carefully chosen so that people can make sure that you can't mistake it for another word, right? So they tried not to have any words that overlap, and if I'm telling you the words on the phone, you'll be able to tell. Also, it really doesn't matter the whole word. All that really matters are the first 4 letters. So if you look closely at any wallet phrase, you'll realize that there's never any 2 words that share the same first 4 letters. And that's why you might notice autocomplete on some of the wallets that you use. Once you start to type, you'll always see that by the time you get to the 4th letter, autocomplete is only offering you 1 option. Now, it doesn't really matter what the words themselves are, okay? If I click into BIP 39 here, there's this file, it says word lists, right? And there's a link to each of them with some details about each one. You can see some of those constraints I was just describing are described here. And the English list, it looks like this, right? So you see there's 2,048 lines right here. That's what really matters, okay? It doesn't matter that this word is absent or something else, right? What matters is that this is the word that is 6th in the list. So if you have a list of 24 mnemonic words, what really matters is that you have a sequence of 24 index positions or positions in this list, right? So abandon is number 0, ability is number 1, et cetera, all the way down to the bottom. Let me pause there. Does that raise any clarifying questions for anybody?
Are we using the same 2048 words in Cardano?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay. Now, there can be other lists in other languages, right? So here's the French list. And these are not translations necessarily of each of the words in the English list. What matters is that whether you want to read your words in French or English, it's the position in the list that matters. And that's why we're able to have multiple languages, right? Because first and foremost, these map to those list positions. That sequence of numbered positions is what gives us our private key, okay? and this is another important concept, we're not going to fully cover this right now, but all of these words are just a supposedly more user-friendly way to manage keys. I say supposedly because personally, I try not to use mnemonics as often as possible. I prefer, if I'm building a little, a little DApp for myself that accomplishes some of my regular tasks, I would rather just use the key files that I can generate from a tool like Cardano CLI or Cardano Wallet. That feels easier to manage, okay? Now, if that's a brand new concept to you, we're not going to cover that in depth right now. That's coming up in module 102. But I want you to know that we're not always going to use mnemonics. We're also going to explore key files. And that's in part what you might learn about here. And it's important to understand how these files work, because you can kind of start to understand the concept of air gapping and what files need to be on my internet connected computer versus which files should, especially if we're talking about substantial amounts of value, never be on a machine that's ever been connected to the internet. Okay. So first of all, I'm hoping, Roberto, this concept of the wallet interaction itself, SIP30 is a place to look. And then also when it comes to then using keys, you can install Cardano CLI, which is a relatively light application, and you can just pull it from an online device over to a device that's never been on the internet. You throw Cardano CLI on there, and now that allows you to sign transactions, right? The signing step, you don't have to have a node hooked up. The building step of a transaction, you do. You have to be able to see what's on chain right now. But then you can, and that's why, right? Anybody who's used Cardano CLI before, you're aware of this. If you never have, you'll start to see it in 2 weeks. When we build a transaction, it just creates a new file for us. It's just a file, right? That can then be stored on a USB drive and moved to a different computer where that file can be signed, which creates another new file, which also can be moved around. Okay, so we really hope to demystify a lot of that. But I hope that the key thing I'm trying to share is that this already, when we talk about mnemonics, is an abstraction away from what's happening under the hood, from what was originally happening on Bitcoin, and what's still available to us on Cardano is to bypass the mnemonic step completely. Mix, what would you add?
I just want to add 3 things about the air gap. You can use a virtual machine if you know what to do with the virtual machine as well. So if you know how to set up a virtual machine that is absolutely disconnected with the internet and so on, you can use that. Actually, there is a OS based on this virtual machine sandbox, quote unquote, called Cube OS. So if you can use that, it's really advanced stuff. But if you want to do that, but one thing about that, there was a Bitcoin developer who was using these Cube OS generating a stuff, but he got hacked. Around $4 million Bitcoin was hacked from it. One thing that I can tell what happened to him, and he didn't, still I don't know what happened to him, how did he got hacked. Please do not put a flag on yourself. Please, respectfully, shut up about your seed phrases. Do not talk about it, really. Just don't say it. How to do it, if you do not say it, you will solve maybe 90% of your problem, really. So, but if you become very visible, become a target, become a flag, of course, people will try to somehow, if they cannot hack your system, they will try to hack you. If they cannot hack you, they will try to hack your family member or something. So please keep that in mind that do not talk. Yeah, we talk about telling to a family member and so on, but talking very publicly is a really, really bad idea. And second, there are tools already, a scanner, that if you get hacked, they will scan your system for pictures and text that its content is normally seed phrases. One thing that we can prevent that is change the suffix or prefix of that file. Make it unrecognizable by Windows or even Linux. That can even protect your that file, that a special file, from those Trojan, scanner, viruses, whatever malware they are. And of course, there are some more advanced, like changing the PE header of a file, or going through stuff for the header of file, what is that, and so on. But I don't want to go through that. But yeah, these mechanisms that change the format of file. If it is text, just remove it. It becomes something unrecognizable. And whenever you click that, the Windows especially will prompt a page, or like a very nice little page that asks you, what application do you want to open it? You will know it. So like it's a notepad, or I don't know, like it is a database of your password manager or something. So like, yeah, but really, please keep in your mind, do not talk about your stuff. Thank you.
That's really the message we should have started with, is that it's foolish to even have this conversation, right? But
it is. But the thing is, people will really talk about, I have this amount of NFT on this amount of ADA, and it is in this wallet. See, it's like showing off. I don't know, like this. I understand, but when you do that, yeah, you will be flagged, and there are groups that they will hack you, and be sure they will find a way. I mean, there is no any secure, like Facebook, Twitter, Google, with billions of dollars spending on security and security department, still they get hacked. You've heard of a lot of leakage of username and data, and even U.S. governments, and even the Russia government, Chinese, and all these governments get hacked. So please keep in mind that the technical and the technology is already there. Just don't put yourself as a target.
Now everybody knows why we don't charge for Plutus PBL too, because it's just safer to stay broke.
Yeah.
We provide a free course.
Yeah.
It's good. So Eduardo has a great question here in the chat. Speaking of air-gapped signing, how do you all feel about storing your phrases on an air-gapped machine? Personally, I'm fine with that. And as you'll see in module 102, we will look at how to generate just your key files and bypass the need for mnemonics entirely. And so when I talk about storing some private keys on an air-gapped machine, it's storing those files, the private key files, and that's essentially what your mnemonic phrases represent. So if your machine is safe enough to store a private key file, then it's also safe enough for your mnemonics. And great point, Janti and Melanie, exactly, right? Even if we write things down, is your paper waterproof? Is it stored in a waterproof location? Is it exposed to the sun? And are all the words going to fade, that kind of thing? You want to double check that your words are still legible every couple months or so. Roberto.
This might be a little bit of a dumb question, but is it enough that the computer is just not connected to the internet, or do you have to literally remove the ability of that computer to connect itself to like a Wi-Fi network or something like that?
Yeah, you need to do that. Air-gapped machines, actually, they don't have hardware. Like the hardware is not on motherboard, on board. There is no app. It is not a choice. You cannot do it because the wireless hardware is not there at all. So that's the kind of things that are special. But in a virtual machine, you can kind of do that. So you can just when you are installing your virtual machine, initiating your virtual machine, you can just not add in the network drive or adapter to it. It will be work as that, because but there are the tools, like I can give you that tool. You see that so many stuff happening in your machine, and it say I'm not connected to internet or whatever, but still there are so many things, so many protocols are talking with each other, and some of them are actually very weak. I mean, like FTTP, like RPC, like SMB. These protocols are already proven that they are really weak. So if you do not have that hardware, like not that adapter at all, that's actually the air gap, so-called. Like there is no any way for disabling. Let me tell you that there is no any way for software disabling all your network. Even you go to your network adapter and disable your adapter, there will be a way. Your motherboard, or there is some application, they can get access to your Windows API or Linux even, to talk through these software and enable it, and even sending those messages, sending those data through DNS. So they will encode the file and chop it as a series of DNS query, which is very small. Even that, I mean, there several years ago, people came for DNS, like there was this technique of DNS file exfiltration or something. And it was, already a stop, and people put the filter on EDR. EDR means endpoint detection and response. There is a software, and actually is a hardware doing many things, not just antivirus or something. But hackers came up with another idea, ICMP. ICMP is for ping. I think maybe you know that when you ping some computer or network, like actually it's really, as the name say, literally pinging. You just, hey, are you there? Do you have this IP? That's all. That's the whole purpose of ICMP protocol. But still, with that very small packet, hacker were able. And I can even give you the tool and the commands to send data. So even very basic and old protocol like ICMP, ages back, maybe 40 years ago, like back 50 years ago, it was one of the first protocol came to be after IP, internet protocol or something. So yeah, there are these things. So I'm really, if you want advice from someone whose job was protecting, like, and I was kind of fascinated by Chinese malware because of all this creativity they had. And the thing that I learned, that there is no way. And even air gap, if they, for example, I mean, I don't want to scare you, and I don't want to go too deeper or something, but even keep your air gap in the air gap environment. You might say, what do you mean? If you bring your air gap to a place that near people can have access to it, although it is air gap, it is on, still people can, by a side channel attack, quote unquote, you guys can search it, can read data from your machine. By the voice of hardware, the hardware disk, the voice it creates, it can, I mean, there are some software, the hacker made it, or the cybersecurity researcher, that can translate, they can decode what the noise this hardware is doing. So they could take this information, or by the voltage of CPU. For example, RSA. RSA is a very strong cryptographic scheme and protocol. But and it is mathematically proven that it is impossible to crack, at least with normal and traditional computer system, not quantum or something. But even that, it was I mean, there were some side channel attack by just observing the voltage of CPU to read the key, private key and public key, and unlock and hacking this cryptographic protocol. So there are things as well, like if you really want to go to air gap, make an environment air gap as well. So, you know, like keep those things really secure. But again, one of, again, best advice, don't really talk about that, what you have, to people. So you won't be a target for this stuff.
Mix, later in the course, you've also done some good instruction for us around like the security vulnerabilities of the browser itself and the surprising amount of access it has to our computers.
Yeah.
Therefore, the limits to how much maybe we should be using browser-based wallets, right? Like Nami, you could see I have it installed right here. Nami is a great tool if my goal is to interact with decentralized applications on the web.
One thing,
you wouldn't want to store a lot of value there.
No. And also, if you are using a browser for your transaction interacting with blockchain, just keep one browser to do that. Do not install any other extension. You have no idea how easy it is to just write in an extension and put it on Google Chrome store, and you might want to download it. Like it is a dark mode reader, or it is just converting PDF, or a music finder or something. In order to write an extension, you need to follow a XML manifest, and that is all. I mean, even the Google Chrome said that it's up to you. I'm not responsible for securing this stuff. So keep one special browser. My suggestion, if you, but for some really important, you can use Epic. Epic browser is like a one-time use. Every time you use it, every information there will be wiped clean out. Like all the packages, all the information your extension store, even that will be wiped clean off, because of the privacy focus they are. So maybe it is a bad idea that you have to every time put in your seed phrases or something to log into your wallet, or again like initiating your browser wallet. But still, it is kind of secure that even those data that you are having inside your browser will not be stored inside browser. Because, and by the way, it is not inside browser. It will be inside browser folder in the Chrome, in app data, in Windows. I don't remember in Linux where it was actually, but in the app data, Chrome stored this extension and their according their registered number and UUID and so on, and they will store their stuff there. Like their profile option, Eternal is doing the same. So when you export, like if you want to export your wallet or something, Eternal actually exporting those data and give it back to you. So yeah, again, you are storing that stuff, and you have to trust Eternal how these communication happening. Like when you are sending something and you are asked to put your password, this process happening on the browser. But if you check that if you are not connected to internet, Eternal doesn't work well, because there are some communication, not the blockchain, but the communication between the Eternal server, so it can give you nice user-friendly experience. So because of that, who knows this information will go or not? Who knows someone, as I told James before, that can send a payload. Payload is a command that can execute a bad command to your computer or something. We call it payload. It will be sent as a message or as a metadata or something. and it will come to your wallet. Personally, I don't know, did they test against this attack, the eternal NAMI or whatever, or not? And those payload will do some stuff, and it will be stealing your cookies or information stored in the extension.
That's an interesting question when it comes to something, for example, like SIP30, which
wallet.
doesn't cover those sorts of recommendations, but maybe it's worth it to have another layer of expectations that another class of browser wallets could choose to adopt.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they didn't mention that the extension and the server, how they should communicate with each other,
right?
Through what channel, how secure that channel should be. So these are really.
I think there's a lot for us to follow up on here, right? And so as we move through, so first of all, one coming attraction, we're going to talk a lot more about different ways to handle your keys. Okay, so I mentioned starting in module 102, people will get to see how to create a pair of key files and not use mnemonics at all. And I definitely recommend just understanding that, even if you're not going to use it directly. And then later, we'll start to see that as we start to build applications, web-based applications, there's different ways to handle wallet security there. So we'll show you a couple of different ways to start thinking about that. So this is going to be a conversation that we return to with successively kind of more interesting lenses as we keep going deeper throughout the course.
Yeah, but guys, don't be discouraged or scared. These struggle happening in other industry as well, even internet, even the people who are doing, for example, imagine, put yourself that you are one of the 7 people who holds the keys to that 1 billion something Cardano treasury. Where do you want to protect that, and how do you want to do that? It is really hard, it is really challenging, costly, and so on. But we are actually improving. So these issues happening with other area as well. But so yeah, but you just let me give you this, that please give yourself the opportunity for mistake. And by that means that this is one of the things that we tell to organization: give yourself opportunity to do mistake, but that mistake shouldn't be your last mistake. Just give, okay, some fun might go, some you might get hacked. Fine, it happens, shit happens, but don't let that hacking ruin your entire life. This mindset that because we will do mistakes, absolutely inevitable. We cannot stop that, So allow yourself, give yourself opportunity. Like just spread stuff. Like do not put the big amount inside, like the browser wallet or something. There are many ways, but yeah, keep in mind, give yourself a way to do mistake. But that mistake shouldn't be your last mistake. And it shouldn't be that something, you will get hurt, you will feel pain, but that pain shouldn't kill you. So yeah, this is the thing that we humans are struggling in tech, and AI is coming. We are already seeing the cyber criminal using AI to create a social attack campaign, to create videos on YouTube to attract people as a scamming, to write malwares, and so there are many things. That's absolute reality. We always, the blade has 2 sides, But yeah, I really think that if we are careful, we will do mistake, but we won't die because of that mistake.
There's actually a couple Easter eggs already embedded in the course where we are demonstrating for you things that we shouldn't do. If you want a head start, go see if you can find them. Okay, but we'll start to talk you through some of these things. And I couldn't emphasize it more. This is why we build on test nets first, right? I hope that's really obvious to everybody, that you wouldn't want to build an application in a language that you don't fully understand on a main net of a blockchain. And so that's why it's so essential to make sure that you're hooked up to pre-prod or the preview network. And that's what we'll continue to do at the beginning of this course, is only be interacting on the test networks. Yeah, and so Eduardo, I think we wouldn't want to end without just mentioning hardware wallets. I've heard great reviews of both Trezor and Ledger. There's a variety. There's different cost levels for each of these, so you can decide what your budget is and what features you might need. But they're nice little devices. They're very satisfying to use. So I would recommend checking out both of these.
Yeah, but can I say something, James, about both of them?
I saw this coming. What do you got?
Both of them, even the newest one, they got hacked.
Oh, they've been hacked. Wait, their customer databases.
This is
or
true. Yeah, everything's hackable.
Yeah,
Right.
they got hacked. Their hardware got hacked. Their framework got hacked. So
Okay.
again,
So
if
what
you
is
think you are using hardware wallet,
say another word. So what exactly is the exploit? Like if you use one of these and you plug it into a computer, it might as well not even be safe anymore, or is
no, James. The thing, I haven't heard about like a Trojan or something or virus to do that, but I heard always about physical access. Like someone installed that physical hardware wallet, and somehow they got hacked. So I wanted to say that if you think you have a hardware wallet, keep it safe. I mean, don't think, okay, someone can pick it.
First of all, if you have just one hardware wallet, please understand it first and foremost as a convenience, not as the be all and end all of your security.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. If people are able to steal it from you, just like if they steal the keys to your car, right? They're going to drive off with your assets. Okay. Yeah. But here's another interesting part. First of all, for anybody who hasn't used one of these before, hardware wallets are backed up with mnemonic words in the first place. Okay, so you're not actually getting yourself away from some backup process in the first place. And second of all, as such, I've seen solutions where you can actually secure one hardware wallet with another one. And right, you can have your Ledger be the key to your Trezor, which is the key to your Cardano wallet, for example. And so I just want you to know that's how deep you can go if you want to. That's a nice project to take on. And if you run into questions, be in touch. This is not something we're going to spend too much time on from the personal perspective. But as we start to get into building applications, like I said, we're going to start to see these questions again. Yeah, the hardware seed, exactly, Steve. Right, you still got to secure, and that's why one of these, the stack, some of these organizations sell some accessories. That looks like a waterproof, yeah, something like this, right? So I'm paying $100. You decide.
Is it titanium steel or something like?
Yeah, right.
Some
like so
alloy
you can
that
encode your seed word.
It is resistant to nuclear blast or something.
Right.
I would care that there is a nuclear blast and okay, my keys are safe. Let's die now.
Yeah, Jeff, that's interesting. Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that's the other thing, just for people to know, is that once again, even your hardware would be backed up, right? The first thing you do when you set up a hardware wallet is you create a backup phrase for it. If you lose it, you can still get a new piece of hardware and reinitialize it with the backup phrase. Yeah. Dog tags. Yeah. Cool. So to be continued, but thanks for taking part in this initial conversation. Often, if you have follow-up questions after you think about what we talked about today, always be sure to share them in Discord, or if you're watching this video later on, just be sure to be in touch. And if this time doesn't work for you, you can count on us posting the recordings, and just look for a chance to say hello in Discord and reach out. We meet every Wednesday and Thursday at 14:30 UTC, and the links are at, I don't have the page up anymore, Plutus PBL/live coding. All right, Mix, take us away. What are your last words?
I just want to say this last point that, guys, please, one of the best security measure you can take is updating yourself. Don't rely on old information. You think that, I know this is 6 months ago, someone said this is secure. No, if you are coming in this technology stack, it's really new, it's rapidly changing. So update yourself, update your stuff. Yeah, keep yourself.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And for anybody who is meeting Professor Mix for the first time, he is the lead lecturer at our Friday session. So you'll see on the calendar here, Smart Contract Gladiator. If you like the depth of this, of what Mix is sharing in this conversation, you can get a lot more of that on Fridays at 16:30 UTC. So we hope to see anybody there. If you can make it, those sessions will be recorded and posted as well. All right.
I just wanted to say I can't make it because I'll be at work, but I'll be watching those. I'm really interested in them. I just can't make it live. Yeah.
It's great to meet you this week. Yeah, excited to start spending more time and get into some deeper building with you. All right, Eduardo, you too. Thanks for being here. Great to have you in person for a moment. And everybody else, thanks for joining in today, and we will see you very soon.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you, James.
Take care.
Yeah, bye.